What's up, Cybonics, and welcome back to a new video about something new related to Ionic. I feel like the last time we talked about new versions or new tools is kind of a long time ago, so I'm very excited today about a cool new tool that is called Capacitor Configure. It's a tool for configuring your capacitor applications. Who would have thought by that name? And I'm pretty sure it will be something big and interesting in the future for teams, for companies that have more complicated applications than just like a little to-do applications where you got different clients, you got white label applications, you need to inject frameworks, you need to handle permissions, and all of that can be improved with this package. We're gonna take a quick look at the two APIs of that project and how it can be used. It is really a very early look at this package. I was using this package like 2 or 3 weeks after Max from Ionic worked on it, and we actually have a special guest in this episode talking about the package in the end, so you should definitely stick around. Also, I just want to quickly let you know that during the end of the year, especially in December, there will be a lot of cool things. So definitely stay subscribed to this channel as I will share more about it. At least 2, maybe 3 big things will happen in December. So stay subscribed and I will tell you all about it when it's time. But for now, let's check out the configuration tool, and afterwards we're gonna discuss about it and hear what Max, the CEO of Ionic, has to say about it. Alright, so let's explore this package first of all. It's available at Capacitor Configure on GitHub. I'm actually between the contributors, that's cool. I just submitted a little pull request to fix a minor thing. Anyway, this tool comes with 2 important packages or APIs. First of all, there's the project API, and then somewhere at the bottom you will find the configuration tool. We will take a look at both of them. Let's get started with the project API. You can install it by running npm install at capacitor project in your project, and I of course did already in just an example application. Now, the first problem I encountered was actually how to run this code, because I just created a TypeScript file and I tried to somehow execute it. That wasn't actually that easy. So what I changed is I made a lot of changes. I don't know which stick around. So changing the target and module to ESNext, and then just running the TSC or running it with npx to execute your local script of your package. On that file should usually transpile that file into a JavaScript file that you can then run with Node.js. Probably not the best way, it's the one way I found that actually worked for me, so I just sticked with that. But right now we see I also get an error, so it's definitely not perfect. But what I did to fix this is I just created a new function that wraps all of our code, and then I call that function in the end. So let's see if we can get a lock already from this. This is the first step. I'm going to chain this with node configure running the configure script, and then we will see if this prints out something. Now, it will load the capacitor project based on the configuration here using the default path for iOS and Android, and then load the project. Now, let's see the output. That is first of all good news, because it looks like it found the iOS project at the specific path with the project pbx project file, and also for Android the build Gradle file is listed and the Android manifest, so looks like we got access to everything. Also the virtual file system, which will then later be used to commit our updates. Now I shouldn't forget about that because that part is really important. So let's see what we can do. I also brought up source control. So right now we only got those 2 files, but we will see what changes in our native project, because that's actually a lot easier to see all the changes there than just looking at the IDE. But of course we could also open Xcode. Let's first of all grab our app target by using project iOS. Because all of this is TypeScript, it's pretty easy to get started. You see we have Android and iOS, we got the config. And once you go into iOS, you already get a bunch of options to get the bundle ID, set the bundle ID, add entitlements, and we're gonna just throw in a few things. So perhaps let's just do one thing for the beginning, and that is setting our app name. So let's set this to myvideo.test. I think that is a very common thing. because in white label applications that I've worked with, they need to be built for different clients. So updating the bundle ID is definitely something we need. And to make sure it works, you have to run project.commit in the end, otherwise your changes won't even be written. Now let's run this again and let's see what happens. Actually, I think in my last test, it also updated the manifest file, although we only did changes for iOS, but it's not setting, so it's just formatting that file. Let's just commit this so it doesn't bug us anymore, formatting. Okay, but for iOS, we can see the project file was indeed updated. Our new value was written to the project, and you can now run cap open iOS to open your Xcode IDE. And then we could see that right here, my video test was updated. That's pretty cool. Let's add a few more things. So for example, we could also change the display names to something. It's sometimes not clear if you have to pass in this second value, which is the build name. Sometimes you need it, sometimes you can just pass null. I think Max will work on this to improve this and make this more clear in the future. So for iOS, there are different builds. You could also have different targets if you're working on a more complicated project. But for now, let's just stick to this. Let's also change our version to something like 1.4242. And perhaps also add a framework. So this also works. Let's do this and let's run this another time, and we're gonna check a look at the source control. So previously we just updated the bundle identifier. This time there should be a lot more updates to our project. Let's see. Did we already get that? Yeah. We got the marketing version in here. We don't have the name. We don't have the name, or do we? No, I don't feel like we have the name. So the problem is it's really a very early version, and some things did work already for me when I was testing this. Some things, well, might just break because it's a super early work. I worked with this package like 3 weeks after Max started working on it, so it's a very early version, but I still think it's amazing once all of this is stable. Especially stuff like this is interesting for a lot of you, because updating your info plist or permissions is really always a pain. And if you have a somewhat complicated application, this could make life a lot easier. And we see the info plist, the string was written right here. Also, of course, interesting for Capacitor plugin authors, but those authors are likely to use something else that we will take a look at in the end. Now, I don't want to make this too long, so let me just show you something instead. Now for Android, everything really just works the same. So I created another function to update the Android project. Again, we could have done this in one. So I can set the package name, the version code. Let's do this. The version code, the version name. You could also, I think, even have automatic updates to the version code. That kind of works sometimes as well. And but what I also found very interesting for Android is adding resources. So we can write a blank value to a file, or we can copy a resource like an icon perhaps, or a function that I actually added as a pull request is add a generic resource like a Google Services JSON file. You might have different clients for your white label application. They have different Google Services JSON files, or perhaps even a different environment file that you want to inject. So let's check out the changes, and we see into the Android app source folder, the test was injected, the icon was copied, the Google Services was added, the Android manifest was updated, and any other changes? And the build Gradle version name was changed as well. So all of this with a project API, and I think that by itself is already a pretty good step forward for Capacitor. Now we want to do this on a different way. So let me quickly reset everything, and then we're going to check out the second way. So this is the way from creating a TypeScript file and executing that, perhaps in your CI/CD environment. But you could also do this in a different way, and perhaps even an easier way. Now, this is a YAML file. I don't know if you've used YAML before. I actually encountered it at my first job like, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years ago. Didn't knew it was still up to date, but Max selected YAML because I think he found this in the old Cordova plugins that used YAML for the automatic configuration, and it kind of works the same now. We have some variables up here. We can target different platforms. You can also find a huge YAML file with a bunch of things here on the GitHub repository. So here's a file containing a lot of things for iOS, for Android. Let's do something like this. That's pretty cool as well. Under, I don't know, app, right? Yeah, that goes under app. So YAML, a bit like Python, I think you have to make sure you get your indentation right. And let's see how we can run this. That's actually a lot easier because that can be done with the tool npx. Now let's just search for client A. npx capconfig run. So npx, once again, executing your local scripts of the package.json. Capconfig run is the important part. Client A and -y just skips the confirmation, so it's automatically updating everything. It has a pretty nice output. I kind of even like this approach more. You see, run iOS, update, blah, 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 updated this, that, and then we're gonna see that's actually, or hopefully, the truth. So the name was changed in the info plist, the project, there we see frameworks being added, names being changed, and of course you can also check this out within Xcode, and there you should see the same result. How this comes together, like where you get all of this from, you can see it in this example. I also already recommended to make a more detailed description about the different values you can use in the YAML file, so probably in the future you will have a better documentation about what you could use. As well, now I did this for Android, and once again, you can pretty much do the same from here like we did before. So you can change the manifest file, you can change attributes, you can copy resources, of course, change all the basic information about the package. And then when this is done, once again, we see all the changes reflected here in our source control overview. Now, as far as I know, this configuration based on the YAML file just uses the project API under the hood, so they're kind of connected. Using the project API is well, it's closer to the original code. This is more like a configuration for your application. You can decide which you prefer more. Because both of them will work, and I'm pretty sure that we will see a lot of these YAML files or configuration scripts in the future. Alright, that's it so far for the first impression of the Capacitor configure tool. I think, in my eyes, it's a great way. Because initially, you know, the philosophy of Capacitor was never magically change your native iOS or Android project, because the stuff Cordova did in the past was kind of magical with the config XML and regenerating, and then it didn't work. So I think this is definitely an improvement, because now you can just make it explicit what you want to change. It will be helpful both for companies that have like big requirements, white label applications, huge applications with different targets, but also for plugin authors. Like if you want to add the Capacitor camera, you right now need to manually change your Android manifest and the iOS info plist, and with this approach, authors could maybe create a file and then automatically everything could happen. Yeah, it's kind of moving in the direction where Cordova was, but I think it's still different. Anyway, I think the person who can describe this best is Max Lynch, co-founder of Ionic, and the person who created this package. So let's hear what Max has to say about it.
Hey Simon, hey everyone. This is Max, one of the co-founders and CEO here at Ionic. I want to talk about this new project that we've been building called the Capacitor Configure project. Also, sometimes you'll hear it referred to as the project API. And what this is basically a API, JavaScript library, and a tool. So it's two things, and it enables you to programmatically administer and manage your Capacitor app projects. So basically like the iOS app, the Android app, from a single interface. And you can do it either through the API, which gives you a ton of control. You can write custom code or you can use it through a tool that basically takes a YAML file and then runs through that file to modify your project more of a configuration basis. And they're kind of two different use cases, and probably two different types of people would be interested in each of those. So the tool, which is kind of what I started with, it was the initial thing I wanted to build, and that was inspired by the Cordova config.xml and plugin.xml approach, where a plugin author could publish a YAML file, and then when you install the plugin, it'll run through the configuration and modify your project. So it'll update Android manifest, Gradle file, and actually there's some really interesting stuff that it does for Gradle that goes beyond what Cordova did. And then on iOS, it'll update, your build settings and your project. If you've ever dug through a Xcode project, you'll find a pretty weird file called a PBX file, or PBX proj file. And it's a very strange format that this tool will actually go and modify for you and manage for you in a much nicer API than what's typically out there. So that use case is going to be great for plugin authors who want to automatically configure projects when you install the plugin, but their configuration is really complicated and it's hard, it's difficult for users to go and do all that stuff. And then the API is going to be great for people who want to maybe do really complex white labeled app scenarios, build tooling, automated CI/CD stuff. You can increment build numbers. You can do a lot of other things, update plist files. And basically the goal with it is you should be able to use the tool or the API to do everything you need. You should never have to write like a custom bit of code beyond that. I really, compared to the Cordova approach, I never want you to have to write a hook, for example, because I built a bunch of plugins and I'll be able to get so far with the Cordova plugin XML, and then there's one thing I need to do. Like I had to add a new custom Gradle build script, and Cordova's configuration options doesn't support that. It only supports doing it for the app Gradle, not the actual root level build script. And so I had to write a hook for that. And now I've got this custom hook that's, probably reinventing the wheel, loading a Gradle file and doing all this stuff. And it's doing basic string search replace. And this tool replaces all that. You should never have to do that kind of thing. At least that's the goal. So I want people to give it a try. I want plugin authors to check it out, publish a YAML file for their plugins, and give users the option to run the script to actually go and configure their app automatically. And just let me know if it's solving the problems that you have. The repo's at github.com/ionic-team/capacitor-configure, and you'll find the configuration tool and the API in there, and the tool uses the API under the hood. So feel free to file an issue. Let me know if it's not doing something that you want it to do. We're going to be integrating this into our AppFlow, CI/CD, and build service soon, so that should make automated build configuration much easier. And we're just trying to help plugin authors and people who are building really complicated apps just manage like the automated configuration and solve a lot of problems around that. So really excited about this. It's the first step towards adding more of these power user features and developer experience features around Capacitor. So expect future updates around things like asset management and image generation and things like that. So yeah, that's basically it. Thanks everyone.
Thank you, Max. I think you've wrapped it up perfectly. I feel like this package will be very important in the future. Just by reading between the lines and the effort put into this package, I think this package has come to stay. So you should definitely give it a try. You can find it at Capacitor Configure on GitHub. Also check out the according blog post Max did already about it. And as well, I would love to know your thoughts about this. Is this an improvement? How could you use this in your project? What's missing? Give it a try, let me know in the comments. I'm sure Max will also join the comments, so if you put in something you would like to see, it will definitely happen in the future if it's a legit request. Think about what you handled before with a script in your applications or what you enjoyed about Cordova. Maybe this could now be replaced with this new tool. Of course, hit the like button and stay subscribed because, as I said in the beginning, a lot of cool things will happen now in the end of the year. So be prepared for a big December. I will be back hopefully soon. So have a great week and happy coding. Simon.